How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to an episode here on Let's Build Twitter. As always, I'm Ethan, a random coder, your favorite underqualified senior software engineer. And as always, if you guys do want access to a private repository, there's a link in the description down below. Thought I'd walk you through exactly how to gain access to that. Now that being said, let's go ahead and hop into what we're working on today. Last episode, we made it so that we can actually go ahead and center this guy and made a component. That way we can go ahead and make sure it stays centered inside of this message. I know I kind of repeated myself there. This episode, we want to go ahead and make it so that most of these more options actually do something. We're going to go ahead and ignore the report message because I don't really care about that, but by the end of the episode we should be able to go ahead and hide the message. We should be able to go ahead and copy it, and we should go ahead and start the animation for creating a reply. We don't have enough time to actually go through the entire thing of making the reply, posting it, and displaying it. That'll be in a later episode, probably next episode, but by the end of this, all of these buttons should actually do something. With that being said, let's go and hop in the code and get to work here. Today we're going to be starting out inside of our message model. Specifically, we need to go ahead and change a length on our message text, because whenever I was trying to edit or make some longer messages to test some things out, it was breaking. So we're going to go ahead and put in length equal, and I'm just going to do 2056. That should be plenty. If we need to be longer, we could make it longer, but I don't think we're going to need to. And then we're going to go ahead and update some stuff inside the message controller. Let's go and hop in there. So inside the message controller, first we're going to go ahead and go down to line 43. So basically we're going to go ahead and change this to actually just send back a new message inside here, just to make our lives a little bit easier. I'm just going to go ahead and pass back message, and that'll make that a little bit easier for us. And we're also going to go ahead and update our hide message for user. So here, instead of a message, we're going to go ahead and make this a message DTO, just to make our lives a little bit easier, which of course is going to break this. So now we're going to go ahead and return a new message DTO and then pass back this, and that should also go ahead and fix this. So that looks better. So now that's good to go. And now we can go ahead and hop back into the front end and make it so we can start using this hide as well as that other one. So let's hop into the front end and get to work here. On the front end, we're going to go ahead and start out inside of our message slice. So what we're going to want to do is we want to scroll down so we can go ahead and create a new interface for hiding a message as well as a new async thunk. So we'll just scroll down here to the bottom, probably about right here underneath our React to message payload. Go ahead and say interface, and it's going to be hide message payload. Whoops. Payload, like so. And inside here we'll have a user of type user. We're going to have a message of type message, and we'll finally have a token, which is a string. And now we can go ahead and come down. We'll just go ahead and go below where our last async thunk is. So it should be like react to message or something like that. Let's see. Here we go. So here we'll go ahead and export, maybe export const, and this is going to be hide message is equal to create async thunk, like so. And inside this will be message slash hide, and I spelled hide wrong, of course I did. There we go, that's better. And then we'll have our async, and we'll have a payload, whoops, which is a hide message payload. And then we'll also have our thunk. If I could type today, that'd be cool. API. Let's go ahead and do our error function. So we'll set up a try catch. So try catch E, and if there's an error, we'll go ahead and return our thunk API dot reject with value, and then pass back that E. Now inside of our try, we'll say let body, whoops, let body equal to an object, and then this will have our user, which is payload dot user. I'm sorry guys, my fingers are not working this morning. And then message ID will be payload dot message ID. Could have probably just passed the message ID, but it is what it is. Now go ahead and say let res equal to await axios dot post, and then here we're going to go ahead and post to http //localhost 8000 / message / hide. Go ahead and pass in that body. I'm going to go ahead and pass in the config. So this will be headers. And then, whoops, I jumped down on accident. Let me fix this. So our headers, go ahead and do this, and it always kind of does some jank stuff. That's fine. Have authorization, which is going to go ahead and have backticks. This will say bear, and then $ curly brace payload dot token. So that'll go ahead and make our request. Now, after we wait for that, we'll go ahead and just return res, return res dot data. So now we have our hidden message. Now we just need to go ahead and deal with the logic for hiding it. Let's go ahead and add our case at the bottom here. So let's go to our last fulfilled case, whoever that may be. That's probably going to be our react to message.fulfilled. There we are. So we can go ahead and say builder to add case, and this is going to be hide message.fulfilled. Again, we're not that worried about the negative case here, action and state. So now we're going to do something very similar to above. So I'm going to say if state.conversation. So if we have a conversation, we'll go ahead and say let updated messages equal to state.conversation.conversation message.map. We'll map a message, excuse me. And then inside here, we'll say if our message.message ID is equal to action.payload.message ID. That means it's the same message. We'll go ahead and return the action.payload. Otherwise, we're not going to change the message. We'll just return the message. So that will go ahead and map us a new list of updated messages. And we'll say const updated conversation, which is a conversation, will equal to, and we'll say ... state.conversation. And then we'll go ahead and say conversation message is going to be the updated messages. So let's go ahead and update the message list inside of our conversation. Then const updated conversations with an S is equal to state.conversations. I can't spell conversations. And then .map. Make sure we have an S there. That's very important. Map through each conversation. And then here we'll go ahead and say if our conversation.conversation ID is equal to our updated conversation.conversation ID. If that's the case, we'll go ahead and return the updated conversation. We could have just said state.conversation, but it is what it is. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and return the conversation next in the list. So we'll go ahead and update our list of conversations for our state as well. Finally, we'll say state is equal to ... state, and we'll pass in our conversation, which will be updated conversation. And we'll go ahead and say conversations with an S is updated conversations with an S. So then we go and update the state, and we can go ahead and return our state. Return state. So now what we're going to go ahead and do, if the message is hidden, it's going to have a hidden by on the message. We're going to use that information to hide the message. So that's why I need to update the messages. That is good to go. Now we need to go ahead and hop into the message content options to be able to put the handle click on there. So let's hop into that component we built last episode. So here, and I did call it options. I might go ahead and put the S on here just to make it more consistent. It's going to break in a couple places, but we have to hop in there anyway, so it's fine. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're just going to go down to the bottom, basically, or where our last one was, about here. We'll go ahead and say const handle hide clicked. And this is basically how most of the episode's going to go. E react.mouse event. And this will be on an HTML div element, like so. That looks good. Go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead and stop propagation first because there's some funky stuff that could go on. We'll go ahead and say set display, I cannot type, display more to false because we don't want more to be popped up anymore. We'll also go ahead and say update more open to false once again to close our modal. And we're going to go ahead and say if we have logged in and we have a token, then we can go ahead and dispatch. And I believe I should have dispatch. We're going to dispatch hide message. We'll go ahead and bring that in. And then here we'll say user is logged in. We'll have our message and we'll have our token. So that's all we need to do for handle hide click. Now, obviously we need to go ahead and add it in. We'll also go ahead and deal with handle copy click. So handle const handle copy click, because this one is also very easy. I was trying to say simple and easy at the same time. This one's very simple as well. React.mouse event, and then HTML, maybe HTML div element. Let's go ahead and do the arrow function. So e.stop propagation. We'll go ahead and say navigator dot clipboard, and then dot write text, and we're going to go ahead and pass in message.message text. So we're going to go ahead and write the message text of the message that we clicked on into the clipboard. Go ahead and update more open to false. And we'll also go ahead and set display more to false. So this will allow us to go ahead and copy that text to our clipboard as well. Now let's go ahead and put these in. Now I just need to come down here. So now we have our handle copy clicked. And what we can go ahead and do is do exactly what you expect. So handle copy, copy clicked, and we can test that in a second. And we also want to do handle delete message. So this one is actually going to be called handle hide message, I believe. So handle hide clicked like so, and save that. And now that is good to go. Now we need to go into the conversation container to hide the message. But first, let's hop into the mess container and fix up the issue that I just caused by making this into content options with an S instead of with a non-S. Let's hop in there first. So as I said, now this is going to be message content options with an S. And then we just need to come down here and fix these. So this will be message content options with an S. And then down here, this will also be message content options with an S, and that should fix that issue. Now let's hop into the conversation container and actually hide a message. So in here, we're gonna go ahead and scroll down. It says to about line 52. So here we have a conversation state and this. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna go inside this map here, and we're going to cause an if statement, or not cause an if statement. I'm going to put an if statement here. So we're gonna go ahead and say if we are logged in, and we are message, dot hidden by. So if there's a hidden by, and not message dot hidden by dot sum, this is really ugly. We'll pass in u, and I hope I didn't put too many things there. I think it's fine. And we'll say u dot user ID is equal to logged in dot user ID. So if that's the case, we want to go ahead and return the message container. So let's go ahead and grab this guy. So if hidden by does not contain our user, we want to go ahead and show it. Otherwise, we're just going to go ahead and return an empty fragment because we don't want to show the message. That should be simple enough. So now let's hop back into Postman and go ahead and create a new conversation and everything, because we just deleted our conversation with Rick. So let's go ahead and fix that up and test this out. This is looking like it's probably going to end up being a little bit shorter episode. Sorry, everyone. But I couldn't really fit all this into the last episode because it would have been way too long. But with that being said, let's hop into Postman. So once again, let's go ahead and create this guy. So let's go ahead and just create a message from Rick. Let's hop back into our front end. So now we have a message from Rick. Looks good. If we refresh, it should still be there. I just want to make sure all of our code is in. All right, so now the first one that's pretty easy is let's just test if we are able to copy. So let's go ahead and copy message. And now we should be able to hit paste, and you can see we have message from Rick. Now let's go ahead and say message from Ethan, and go ahead and send this guy. All right, now we have two messages. So now let's say we want to go ahead and hide a message. And let's say I don't like seeing my own messages. So I'm going to go ahead and say message from Ethan 2, just to make sure that this is all good and working. So if we go ahead and go into delete for you, you can see that the message goes away because now it contains that hidden by inside of it, and we don't want to see it. And if we refresh, we should still see that the message is no longer there. So if we pop this up, you can see we have message from Rick and then message from Ethan 2. The other one's hidden. The only thing I guess we might need, I wasn't thinking about, is that I don't know if it hides a message here, but I don't know if that really matters. So maybe I'll do some testing with that and deal with that, or maybe it's just a bug that gets trickled through, but it is what it is. So now the last thing that I want to go ahead and work on is be able to go ahead and click this guy and click on reply. What happens when you click on reply is a little bar pops up at the bottom here, and it basically shows who you're replying to, and then you can type out whatever. So that's what we're going to get working on today, is that little bar. We have to do some CSS changes, and we need to make some logic changes as well. In the next episode, we get it so that whenever we actually click on it, it'll post the reply and all of that stuff. So with that being said, let's hop back into the code and get to work here. So to do this, we're going to go ahead and hop back into our message slice. Inside our message slice, we're going to go ahead and add a new piece of state. So let's just go up to the top here. Inside of our message slice state, it doesn't really matter where this goes. I'm just going to go ahead and probably put it below conversation. We're going to go ahead and have reply to message, which is a message for undefined. So this is going to be the message we're replying to whenever we click on that reply. Let's come down to the initial state. Once again, we'll go ahead and say reply to message. We'll start out as undefined. like that. That's good to go. And then we need to go ahead and set up the ability to actually like toggle this inside of our state. So let's scroll down to our regular reducers here. I know we don't normally do regular reducers, but sometimes they do have a place. So at the bottom of our reducers, which is going to be, I think, underneath received message. So underneath received message, we'll go ahead and say update reply to message. We'll take in a state. It'll take in action, which is a payload action of type message or undefined. So this is going to be very simple. Basically, all it's going to do, and let's make sure we do this right. All it's going to do is just say state is equal to, whoops, is equal to dot state. And then we're going to go ahead and have reply to message, which is equal to action dot payload. And we'll go ahead and return the state. Make sure I put it in the right spot though. So very simple. It's going to go ahead and set that to either undefined or nothing. And then we need to go down to the bottom here and actually add this into the return. I think the return has gotten pretty big, so I'm going to go ahead and clean up the return a little bit. So let me go ahead and clean this up and make it look at least a little bit pretty. And then I'll go ahead and add that last one. Now at the bottom here, we'll go ahead and say update reply to message, and then that is also good to go. Now we can go ahead and hop back into our message content options component and make it so that whenever we click on it, it does the logic. So once again, inside of here, let's go to the bottom two below where we have our handle copy clicked and say const handle reply clicked. Now this is just going to handle the logic for whenever we click on the reply. It's not going to actually create the reply. So this will be react.mouse event on HTML. Oops, HTML div element. Probably should have been a button, but it is what it is. So once again, this is going to be very simple. It's going to stop propagation, so no funky stuff happens. We're going to go ahead and dispatch, and we're going to go ahead and dispatch our update reply to message like so. And then this is just going to take in message, and then we'll go ahead and update more open, and this is going to be to false. And we'll go ahead and also say set display more to false as well. So we'll go ahead and close out of our pop-up / modals. Now we just need to go ahead and come down here to where we have our handle reply clicked. Again, nothing's going to happen for report other than just closing it. So maybe I'll go ahead and add like a close more or something. Go ahead and pass in handle reply clicked in there, and that part is good. Now we can go ahead and continue working. So now we have to do some changes to our messages pop-up, which is not going to be very fun. Messages pop-up is kind of where that modal is that pops up whenever you actually open up to see your messages. So the thing that's not going to be very fun is we have to put this in a very specific place. So hopefully put it in the right place and hopefully get the CSS right. But with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into our messages pop-up. So inside our messages pop-up, we want this to go above our create message bar, but below the other stuff. So this is saying line 72, but that can't be right. It's got to go like just right here, unless I added a bunch of extra stuff and don't know about it. But I'm gonna go ahead and put it here. We're gonna message state dot reply to message. So if we have replied to message, we're gonna go ahead and display this, and then in here we're gonna have a div with a class name equal to messages dash popup dash reply dash reply dash to. This is gonna have a ref, a ref. And I did not put the ref in here. That's why it's small. Reply to reply size ref. I need to go ahead and find this ref, but we can go ahead and make it really quick. So that's why this is a little bit jank. So go ahead and add the ref here. We'll say const reply size ref is equal to, and this will be use ref. And let's bring that in. This will be an HTML div element and null. I'll find the code that deals with the size in a little bit, and I'll deal with that. And I think I missed some other logic then as well, maybe. We'll see here. But let's just get this done and continue. Maybe I didn't forget. Maybe it's later on. Let's have a div inside here. Let's have a p. Let's have a p, the class name equal to messages dash popup dash reply dash to dash nickname. And you guessed it, this is going to have our message state dot reply to message dot sent by dot nickname. We're also going to have a username, so p class name equal to messages dash popup dash reply dash to, and then I guess this says content. I thought we had the username there, but I guess not. So the message state dot reply to message, and then dot message text. All right, so that's good to go. And then now below that one, we'll have another div with a class name equal to messages dash popup, whoops, dash, and then reply dash to, and this is going to be right. Here we're going to have curly braces, and this is going to go ahead and say message state reply to message dot message image. So if there's a message image, we're going to go ahead and show this image, have an img within class name equal to messages dash popup dash reply dash to dash right. Actually not right, this is reply to image, and then this is going to have an src equal to message state dot reply to message dot, and then message image, and then we'll just have an alt equal to, and then message image being replied to. Go ahead and close out the image. Below the image, we'll have a div with a class name equal to, and then messages dash popup dash reply dash to dash close. This will be a close icon. Inside here, we need an on click, which I also did not do, so that's cool. On click equal to, and this will be remove. If I could type, that'd be cool. Reply to. We'll go ahead and create that really quick. So that's why this is slightly different. So const remove reply to, and we'll set this up in a second. This is just going to dispatch to undefined probably, but that's fine. Let's see what's going on with this guy. Image, I'm not sure what's going on with this guy. Alt, oh, I spelled alt wrong. There we go. Now inside of our close, we just need a close icon from Material UI. SX equal to, we'll have our font size, which we'll set to, 20px. And we'll also have our color, which is going to be pound 657786. I got kind of thrown off here whenever I'm missing a bunch of my code. So let's go ahead and let this complain for a second. Let me double check the content that we're going through. Okay, so we're coming back to this, so this is fine. I'm just gonna go ahead and continue to work here, and then we'll come back and fix up the rest of this. So as long as all of the CSS is proper, or all of this HTML is proper, we should be good to go ahead and hop back into the CSS and get that worked up. So let's hop into the CSS for the messages pop up. So now it's gonna go to the bottom and do all of our reply to stuff. So messages dash popup dash reply dash to. Here we'll have width of 100%. We're going to go ahead and have height of fit dash content. We will have a display of flex and a justify content. This is going to be in the space dash between, space dash between. We're going to go ahead and have a border on the left of this guy of 4px solid and black. We're going to have align items in the center, and then we're going to have a padding of about 8px and a background dash color of pound E1, E8, and then ED, like so. It's kind of like, I think it's like the light gray color. Dot messages dash popup dash reply dash to nickname. And now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should have showed you all what this is supposed to look like, but it is what it is. Margin will be 0, padding will be 0, and then font dash weight will be 600, and font dash size will be 13px. Next we have our message dash popup dash, and then reply dash to dash content. This one's a little bit more involved, so we're gonna go ahead and set a display equal to dash webkit dash box. Now technically this might not work in all browsers, but it works for me, so it's fine. Set margin to 0 and padding to 0. We're gonna go ahead and say dash web kit, and then dash line dash clamp. And we're gonna set this to 3. So we only want to be 3 lines long. We're gonna say web kit, and then dash box dash orient. And this is gonna go ahead and be vertical. Maybe. I can't type vertical. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and set overflow to hidden. We're going to go ahead and set text overflow to ellipsis. And then finally, we're going to have a font dash size 13px. We're going to have a font dash weight of 600. So the idea of this is we only want to have 3 lines of height, and whenever those 3 lines are taken up, we want to have ... on the end, because that's what Twitter does. So that's what we have to go ahead and do to get that set up. We are almost done with the CSS. Just have a couple more things here. We have .messages, and I definitely typoed these, so I would have been scratching my head for a while trying to figure out what was going on with that. So let's go ahead and fix these, make sure these say messages pop up. So once again, messages dash pop up dash, and then it's going to be reply dash to dash right. So here we'll have a height of 100%. Whoops, height 100%. We're going to have a display of flex. We're going to justify content in the flex dash start, and we're going to align our items, if I could type, in the center. Then we're just going to have a small gap of 4px just to make sure we have a gap there. We're going to have, say, messages dash pop up dash reply dash to, and this is going to be our image. So here our width is going to be 18px. Our height, I did that backwards. So our height is actually going to be 18px. Our width is going to be 32px. This is what Twitter uses. We're going to have a background on it, and this is going to be background dash repeat. It's going to be no repeat. Whoops, let me fix that. No dash repeat, and then we're going to have an object dash fit, maybe, which is going to be cover. Then we just have a couple more things. So now we just have messages dash pop up dash reply dash to dash close. Here we'll have a width of 34px, a height of 34px, and then we're going to have a border of none. We're going to have a border, maybe, dash radius of 100%. It'll be a circle, and we are going to display flex. We will justify content in the center. We'll align content or items in the center, and finally we'll go ahead and have our messages dash pop up dash reply dash to close hover. And then here we're gonna have a background dash color, gonna be RGBA, and 0, 0,0,1 looks good in this instance, and then cursor will be pointer. So that is good to go. In theory, it should work, but I want to go ahead and do a couple more updates before we actually test it out. So next, we want to go ahead and be able to adjust the height of our actual conversation container whenever we add in a reply, because it could go up and down. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into our conversation container and get that working. So inside our conversation container, let's go ahead and scroll up to the top, and I'm going to go ahead and add in a new piece of our prop. So this is going to go ahead and be min height, and this is going to be a number. I'm going to go ahead and pass min height in here. So min height like so, and save that. And then we're going to go ahead and come down to where we have our conversation container itself. So right here, and after the ref, we're going to add in a style here. So style is equal to, we're going to have a min height, and that's going to override our original min height that we had. This is going to be backticks $ curly brace, and it's going to be 375, which is kind of like our main min height, I guess, minus our min height px. So basically we're going to pass it the height of our reply, and then subtract that from 375, and then I'll go ahead and adjust our min height for us as we need it. So now we obviously need to go and pass this from our messages pop-up. So let's hop back into messages pop-up and deal with that. It's complaining because we need to pass in that logic. So here we're going to go ahead and pass in const, and this is going to be go ahead and be called min scroll height. So min scroll height, and set min scroll height, which is going to be equal to use state, which is a number, and we'll start out with 0. And we already set up the reply size ref because we needed it. And then next we'll go ahead and just update this quick function. Let's say dispatch, and this is going to go ahead and dispatch update reply to message to undefined. We're basically just getting rid of the reply, and that's fine. And then finally we're going to go ahead and I believe add a new use effect. So we're going to just go ahead and come down here below this use effect and set up another use effect like so. And then here we're going to go ahead and watch for that reply size ref. We're also going to watch for message state dot reply to message. So if either of those get updated, we'll go ahead and run this guy. We're going to say if reply size ref and reply, size ref dot current, and we have a message state dot reply to message. That's the only time it's really going to matter. We're going to set min scroll height, and this is going to be reply size ref dot current dot client height, like so. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and set the min scroll height to 0. This should be like reply height or something instead of min scroll height, but it is what it is. Now we need to come down to our conversation container and actually pass this in. So now we're going to go ahead and pass in min height. It will be equal to min scroll height. So if we have no reply, it'll be 0, which will set to 375. If we have a reply, it'll go ahead and add that. And then finally, what we need to go ahead and do is come down here to where we have our remove reply to, which we already have. So now in theory, everything should be set up, but I probably screwed something up here. So let's just go ahead and hop into the front end and see if we have messages still. We might need to recreate those. We still have our message. So if we go ahead and try to reply, it pops it up. As you can see, it does this. Now, the only thing is we don't have a really long message to kind of show what it looks like whenever there's a long message and we don't have one with the image. So let's go ahead and close out of this. Let's go ahead and generate some warm ipsum and just generate a really long message and see what happens. So let's just go ahead and lorem ipsum here and generate some lorem ipsum. That's fine. Let's just generate this and copy this guy. Okay, let's hop into Postman. So in Postman, we're going to go ahead and instead of saying message from Rick, we're going to go ahead and post in that lorem ipsum. And then let's also go ahead and select a file here. We'll just go ahead and select like 193 here. It's pretty old. Let's go ahead and send this. Well, we have a message image and we have message text. If we come back into our front end, we'll see that we have this guy and it's kind of smaller so that this actually fits. And this is centered inside of the text and the image now, which is better. We go ahead and hit reply to. You can see that it cuts it off. Now we could have probably put a little bit more space in between those, and that's something I can look into really quick, but this looks good. You can see that it has the 3 dots. And let me go ahead and just check the spacing here. Let's just maybe add a gap to this guy, and then we'll go ahead and call it an episode. Let's hop into our MessagesPopup CSS. So this is going to be probably, I'm trying to think here. I don't know if it's going to be reply to right or reply to. Actually, it's going to be up here, reply to here, with just display flex. Let's go ahead and add a gap here. I don't know how big, a gap of maybe like 4px, and see what that looks like. That gives us a little bit more space. I don't know if we want it that big. Maybe let's do 2px. Because that was a pretty big gap. It might just be the way that the font is and stuff, but I think that's going to go ahead and do it. That looks a lot better. We have a little bit of a space there. In the next episode, we're going to do is we'll go through and make it so whenever we start typing here, that'll create a reply to message rather than a regular message, and we'll go ahead and display it in the scroll bar. So if you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Everything helps out with the YouTube algorithm. If you guys do want to see what we start from absolute scratch to get the point we are now, there's a playlist in the end card right after this. So anyway, y'all, hope you enjoyed. This has been Ethan, or Coder, and I'll see you all in the next video.